I have tried recording a video like this 2 or 3 times now, and every single time I tell myself that this is going to be the one that I upload. And I even have one or two of those attempts edited in full. And I talk myself out of it every single time. I think there's a couple of reasons why I do that. One of them is definitely because I want to put the stuff I make like this on YouTube because I love to talk. So I quite often go over the time limit on Reels on Instagram. And I'm not a TikTok user anymore, even though I probably should be. Ooh, vintage notification. I'm not a TikTok user anymore, even though I really probably should be if I want to kind of make contenty things. So YouTube is obviously my best option there. But the real thing that kind of put me off, and is probably the bigger reason in why I never end up actually going anywhere with stuff that I've recorded and edited recorded and edited. I always find edited really hard to say in a full sentence like that. It's because I don't have an account on YouTube that's kind of ready to go to be a channel because obviously, I kind of want it to look cute and ready. Um, and that's a very easy barrier to overcome and sort out. But it's just one of those things that's it's not like an urgent priority, obviously. So it's okay, I'll put it off, and then you kind of remember that you're putting it off, and you keep putting it off. And that's just kind of what happens forever. And it's kind of like when you just have a pile of stuff in your room and it's so boring to do but also so easy to do, and it takes zero effort, but doing it feels crazy. I feel like that tweet about ADHD people and Halloween costumes where it's god, you people can't do anything. That's how this feels. um Actually, there's another reason that's quite significant to why I feel like I haven't uploaded stuff that I've recorded. And that's probably the more significant one at play here. I'm also I have a little script on my laptop behind my phone. So if I'm looking up a lot, it's not because I'm being held at gunpoint, it's because there's a script there. The more significant reason, I think, for not putting anything that I've recorded anywhere is because I don't really feel like I was talking about stuff I really wanted to be talking about, like stuff that I really feel had me in. Like, I didn't feel like it was a topic that I was oh, I really care about this. And that's not to say that I was just talking about stuff that I thought other people would want to hear and that I had absolutely zero passion for what I've said in stuff I've recorded before. But I guess it kind of felt like I wanted to fit neatly into the aesthetic kind of thought daughter niche of creators that's pretty popular on like I mean, Reels is where I spend the most time doom scrolling, so I'm going to say Reels. And there's definitely a couple of creators that pop to mind. I'm not saying that I don't like their content. I love their content and I would love to make content like them, but I'm not sure how me that is. I like to consume it, but I'm not sure how much like how authentic that would be to me to try and make stuff like that. Um, I also think I wanted to sound really intelligent and I wanted to be talking about kind of more serious, thought provoking topics. And which, again, that isn't to say that that's not who I am and that I don't have it in me to talk about stuff like that. But I don't think deep down that's what I really want to be creating and talking about. I want to be talking about stuff that really brings me joy and that I could talk about for hours on end. And maybe some of that stuff is a more serious topic, but what I really love to talk about is like my passions and my hobbies, and all that leads on to my next point, which is that last Monday, the 6th of July, I saw BTS in concert.
Don't be shy.
And without sounding dramatic, it really reminded me of everything that's important to me in my life. And I wanted to talk about it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Because if you speak to anyone who knows me, um, they'll probably be able to tell you how much being a fan means to me. Like, it is such such an important part of my life. So I'm a fairly recently reborn fangirl. I discovered BTS right at the end of 2023. So yeah, right when they'd all gone to do their military service. So great timing from me there. And I don't know what it was, but I literally felt like a light had come on in my head, and it's so funny to look back like through my camera roll about around the time when I was getting into BTS, because it goes from like regular old pictures like of my life to like, oh my god, so many pictures of BTS. And I feel like so many people will relate, especially K-pop fans. Like when you get into a group, it's like 0 to 100 so fast, like something switches and all of a sudden like you're in. So that's what happened for me. And for a while, I think I thought it was just going to be a phase, and that this was kind of like a fun, funny, unserious thing I was into just to pass the time. But as time went on, my interest in BTS and in K pop as a whole, like, it wasn't letting up at all. And it was just evolving, honestly, by the day, and I could feel this part of myself coming back to life that I hadn't really felt since I was a teenager. So I had really lost my way a bit in the years before I found BTS. I wasn't really that into fan culture at all, and I didn't really feel like I was part of any communities in that way. I think the only fan community that I was a part of, and this was at a distance because it was also at a time when I didn't really feel like I was like enough of a fan to be vocal in online fan spaces, was Lord. I'd lost touch with fandom culture and connecting with other fans and sharing what the art that you're a fan of means to you, because I thought it wasn't cool. Um and it was probably quite typical of the age that I was and the stage of life that I was in at the time. Like, I was in my late teens, like when I finished school and went to college. That was a really big transformative experience for me, and I think that while I was at college, I wanted to be cool really badly because it was the first time that I was really being exposed to people who were really different to me and liked really different things to me and just had different life experiences to me. 'Cause I went to school in a village, and so a lot of my peers there, we all came from pretty similar backgrounds, and yeah, going to college was the first time that I was really introduced to just like so many different perspectives. I just really wanted to be cool to the people that I was at college with, because it was also at this time that I gave up doing singing and theatre, which was something that I had loved for nearly 10 years. And I was really trying to figure out who I was and trying on, I guess, a lot of identities or just kind of ways of being, and engaging in fan culture just wasn't one of those identities that I thought would be accepted. And then after that, I got into my first relationship, and that was a whole new experience of like, who am I? What parts of myself do I want to share with another person? And like, do I feel like this is a judgment free zone to share what I love? And there were definitely things that I cared about. Lots of music, Lord, still, of course, and lots of other artists too. One of my favorite genres outside of K-pop is shoegaze, and it was around this time of my life that I was getting into shoegaze, 90s music, and after this relationship ended, it was another big overhaul of myself, really. And I moved away from home to go to uni, which didn't end up working out. And I had a lot of really mixed experiences in the year that I was at uni. Um, so I ended up dropping out. And after I dropped out, I was able to move out of home. So I lived at home for a couple of months and I moved out, and sort of I was able to be an adult for the first time. And it was then at this point where I felt like my life had sort of slowed down for the first time in probably a few years. And I feel like I was really thinking about, what do I want for my future? And I wasn't sure. And that really made me feel directionless and that I didn't have a purpose. And I also didn't really feel like I had any kind of escapism. And on top of that, I was also tearing myself apart, wondering if dropping out was actually the right decision. I had a lot of self doubt and a lot of uncertainty about the future, and I felt like I was just sitting with that a lot of the time. um, I didn't feel like I had a lot that was there to comfort me or to help me process things that I was experiencing, or relate to, because Lord had also dipped at this point too. Like, do not get me wrong, I love that woman forever. I've been a fan of Lord since Royals came out, when I was 11. I still remember the first day that I heard that on the radio. Being a Lord fan is not for the weak. Because she'll drop an album, if you know. If you don't know, she will drop an album that will make you feel like so beyond seen and heard, and just somehow every time perfectly fits the stage of life that you're in. And then she will disappear without a trace for like 4 years. So yeah, whilst us Lord fans do feel like we have like a super special bond with her, we've also gotten really good at entertaining ourselves. So this point is kind of where BTS comes in. I got into them totally at random. And anyone who moves like in BTS circles, I mean, you could kind of say this about like most K-pop groups, but especially this feeling is strong with BTS fans. It's kind of a thing that the fans believe that you get into BTS like when you need to. I like want to apologize for how corny that sounds, but why is it embarrassing to be corny? Like, being corny is just being sincere, I think, in many ways. And I don't want to feed into this obsession that a lot of people have on social media with being nonchalant and not caring about anything, because this is something that I really care about. I mean, if that wasn't obvious from the get go. So it's largely said, like, amongst BTS fan circles that, like, you get into them when the time is right, because there's so many people who sort of mourn the fact that they discovered them pretty late. Like, I will accept that I am, to a lot of fans of BTS, I'm probably still quite like a baby fan. Like, a lot of people say you get into them when the time's right. I'm not somebody who wants to blindly follow through with believing that everything happens for a reason. I really do believe that me discovering BTS was something that was meant to happen. I'm changing the framing because I was hurting my arm lying on it like that. Oh, music is something that has always helped me to make sense of my experiences in the world more clearly. And there was something about BTS and the fan community that made me feel really seen. For the first time, probably in nearly like a decade, I felt like that passionate part of me was alive again. And I'm sure a lot of people growing up can relate to this feeling. Like, we have to pick the real world and being serious over our hobbies and things that exist in our lives purely to bring us joy. There's so many people who every single day they go to work, then they come home, watch TV they don't really care about, go to bed and live that on repeat because it's so easy to get into that survival mode flow. You know, I've literally been there. But for me, rediscovering what it meant to be a fan and to be passionate about something outside of myself really showed me that it actually doesn't have to be that way. And I don't have to leave having fun behind when entering adulthood. Part of me, I think, had also gotten a bit jaded by life up until that point, which I know will probably sound funny to people older than me because it's like I'm only 24 now and I was 21 when I got into BTS. So it's kind of like, what do you have to be super jaded about at 21? But that's the thing. Like, your problems feel so permanent and huge when you're young. And as you grow up, like, even now, I was only 21 3 years ago. I'm really starting to realize that things aren't as permanent as they seem. And take from that what you will, because that can be both positive and more negative in a way, but you know, it is what it is. That's just how life is. Yeah, I feel like I'm acting right now like I'm not still young at 24, but no, for me, discovering BTS marked the start of this new chapter of my life where it felt like my world really opened up. I started to love being girly again. I started buying a lot more pink stuff, collecting more cute trinkets, and I also just last year finally admitted to myself that I really like gourmand sweet perfumes. It's like through discovering this new thing that I really loved, I also started to discover other parts of myself too, and I also definitely feel like I relate to like the cuteness as a resistance kind of subculture type thing. Like there's a lot of really great video essays that I've seen about that, and it relates kind of to the rise of like kawaii culture in Japan in times of like financial struggle. Um because it's all to do with comfort and to do with joy. And this is the thing, like the special thing about being a fan is that you have these external things that can help you discover and process internal things, which is where I think the art created by people you're a fan of really becomes your own. And it's also why this can be so meaningful to connect with other fans. And I especially found this when getting into BTS and still now as well, that it doesn't matter that the vast majority of what they put out isn't in English, because when you connect with something, you connect with it. It doesn't need to be justified or explained. And a song that has one meaning for one person or for the people that wrote it then takes on so many millions of meanings to the fans. I think it's really important to not let the childlike part of yourself die in adulthood, and that each day you can do something to make your inner child or your inner teen feel seen and comforted, and most importantly, to feel like you're having fun. Because really, at the end of the day, this is what this is all for, in my opinion. Like, we're never guaranteed tomorrow. We're never guaranteed to be in the same situation tomorrow as we are today. Our lives can change on a dime at any moment. We could get news that changes everything. So if we're not having fun now, what's the point? And this is one of the most important things to me that being a fangirl has taught me, is that fun and joy is absolutely valid as a top priority, and you're not lesser than your peers or anyone else for valuing joy above, say, pursuing a high flying career or looking to settle down romantically. Or obviously, I should say that if your hobbies and interests get in the way of your real life and start affecting things like your real relationships or your job, that can, of course, be a sign to reevaluate exactly where your priorities lie. But I do really think that joy should be something that all of us are prioritizing more, especially as adults. I feel like we could really discover, like, a lot of people could really discover different parts of themselves if they took a moment to sit with what brings them joy and to find out what that looks like. I also think it was really refreshing to me getting into BTS to see a group of men look like they're having fun and enjoying being in each other's company in a way that feels very healthy. Of course, I also need to say, as fans, we don't know the people that we're fans of beyond their public identity. But coming from a place where I hadn't really seen celebrities acting like that ever, if not for a long time, especially in a time where there's so much discussion about toxic masculinity. So many boys are falling victim to the manosphere. It was really refreshing to see expressions of masculinity that went against that too. Because I think a lot of younger fans, and honestly older fans too, look up to BTS as role models. I guess it also gave me hope that there are people who are trying to spread messages of positivity and inclusivity in a world that can really feel super polarizing and opposed to those values a lot of the time. I think to pull my thoughts together, the reason that BTS mean so much to me is because they've made me realize how important joy is, and their music and being a part of the fandom has connected me to a part of myself that I thought I lost touch with, and that I honestly thought I wasn't ever going to get back. I didn't think that I was ever going to have a passion for something or find joy in something the way that I find joy in being a fan, and that's because of getting into BTS. I would seriously urge anyone who's a fan of anything to really embrace that and hold it tight if it brings you joy, because life doesn't have to be serious all the time. Embracing how much I love being a fangirl has given me some of the most fun experiences of my life so far. I love going to concerts. I've met such amazing people through this too, and I've genuinely made friends for life because we were initially bonded by liking K-pop. And none of this part of my life would exist if I hadn't randomly gotten into BTS a few years back. And that's why getting to go to their concert was so special to me, because it reminded me of all of these things that being a fan of theirs has brought to my life and helped to make my life so much richer. If you've listened all the way through to the end, then thank you very much. I'm really glad to be making this video talking about something that really lights me up. I'm using my Taehyung photo card as my mic holder. It had to be done. And yeah, I'm really excited to be talking about being a fan, because this is really, as I said, is what really lights me up. And I really want to make more fan content because it's what I love to talk about, it's what I love to connect with people over, and it's also stuff that I really enjoy to consume as well. So I hope to see you again soon for more fangirlism and more chats like this. And I don't know, maybe I'll bring you along somewhere soon.